Yes, so I was on a bus, let's say Wednesday evening and Wednesday morning. And the music, Marcia, the
Mm-hmm.
music is horrible. It is sexual and it is violent, inciting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had done a video prior about it,
Mm-hmm.
but this most recent video has been getting a lot more traction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is because persons are now realizing that it is detrimental to our young people, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the words that are being used, nothing is being hidden. And I know persons will say, but in our days, we had music that was lewd and crude. But I mean, the way how these persons are putting it over, it leaves nothing to the imagination. It is very disrespectful, right? And something really needs to be done about that. I remembered I had spoken to the no minister, Mr. Chad Blackman, during the by election, and I had mentioned to him about the music, what can be done about it, and he said it's something that he was going to look into. However, that has not materialized. I'm not blaming him. However, it needs to be looked into. I would have spoken to one or two officers, and they would have mentioned that legislation needs to be strengthened, because if I'm a passenger on a bus and I call the police, when the police gets there, they can turn off the music and then the police can't do anything. So
Right.
that is just a waste of time. So they need to do something with the legislation and have that enforced. Even if they don't need to play any music, then don't play any music. But majority of the private public transportations, whether it's minibuses or ZR vans, the music is terrible. And the last thing I will say is this. Now we keep speaking about everything else that will be affecting our children. But when I think about it in this capacity, right? You have children in that environment on mornings who have to go into a school setting to be taught by teachers.
Yes.
Teachers already have the job of getting them settled and still teaching them. And then they then have to deal with the nasty behaviors that they're going to come in, because they're going to go to school hyped up.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to go to school ready to be disrespectful because it's what they're hearing. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, even in referencing the video I did, I have persons saying, well, catch a transport board bus. But how regular do you see those? Or persons saying, buy a car. But that doesn't make sense either, because I got persons still sitting there waiting for houses. So, like, come on. Sometimes people say things that don't make sense. We
Yes.
have to catch the bus. All of us are not fortunate. I believe we need to come to the point where we realize that some things are actually contributing to the detriment of our children, and
Yes.
we can no longer sit idly by and do nothing about it, right? And
So,
I've also had some youngsters messaging as well,
mm,
stating that the music is very distasteful to them. So the youths are speaking out as well. Yes, I've had young people messaging me. Yeah,
wow, wow. If Dave could look, he will see her picture, and because I
yeah.
want, we did discuss that we put up her beautiful picture with her nice pose. So David's in your WhatsApp. You can put that up. But let me, before I go to Mr. Bob, let me ask you something. Um, what I mean, somebody might say, but those are private buses. They're not the big blue buses. Why should the government do something about this, or what could they even do? What would you say?
Mars, well, what I will say is this, right? Yes, they are privately owned transportation. However, they are catering to the public.
Mm.
They're not catering to their friends and their families. They're catering to the public. And the public, we have different personalities. We are different ages. You're catering to the elderly. You're catering to newborn babies. You're catering to people who may not even be feeling well on mornings. So when you come out and say, well, look, this bus privately owned and I can do what I feel like doing, we paying you though. In Beijing, we paying you though. Make it make sense.
Mhm,
That's all
mhm.
I have to say about that, Marcia. Make it make sense.
We're borrowing so much money. Why can't we spend a little bit on our children? What are you suggesting that the government do, Stephanie?
I believe that the government needs to stick to their word. When
Yes.
they say that they care, we want to see that you care. We don't just want to hear that you care. Our children are our future. So for me, all of the lip service is getting to a point where I'm just not interested anymore. I know, Marcia,
Mhm.
I was looking at my video on my other page, and someone was like, I understand your message, but you didn't have to use the same words that was in the song. And I responded to that person and I said to them, well, if this is the words that they're using for our children, why sugarcoat it? We
Ah,
gotta talk to the young people real. We gotta be honest with young people because they are intelligent beings. This is not time to sugarcoat stuff.
but
October 1st, we're gonna see a whole influx of different cultures. So we really gotta get with it. We really gotta get with it, and the government needs to do better. They needs to put their money where their mouths are. Start giving us all this long talk. Just do what you need to do.
yes, yes. Um, Mr. Bob, I'm seeing something here on the screen that Dave has found. I
Yes.
think 10 years ago. Is this 10 years
Yes.
ago? Where the then Minister of Transport,
Yeah.
yes, Minister Michael Lashley says, Mike, I'm sorry. Yes, Minister of Public, Minister
Last
Michael
week,
Lashley. Yes, and he's a Minister of
transport and works.
Transport and Works. Thank you. He says he's not backing down on the plans to ban the music in the vehicle, that it was in the works, but was it actually done?
No, it don't appear so.
In other
But I
period.
know, I know music. I know that when there was a time, whenever the police approach a van, they would turn the music off. So it leads me to to lead the conclusion that it is not allowed on public transport.
Mhm,
And when it reaches the tone where it is vulgar and disrespectful, not only to the adults but to children
mhm.
who are forced into a situation because you have buses taking normal passengers to work, but then you don't have enough buses to service schools. So then they are forced to take the buses. Some children are delinquent and they will get onto the buses because they are attracted to certain things,
Mhm.
but they're children. So we have to make a decision as the government has to make a decision that for children make decisions out of an experience of life.
Yes,
So we have to guide them. So therefore, those things that present themselves to interfere with their clean development and healthy
yes,
development into responsible adults, we have to nip it in the bud. And as Stephanie said, and I agree, and I want to say I congratulate you for bringing this issue to the public. And it came at a time where where I think generally the public is concerned about where this lewd music, vulgar music is heading, and it's
yes,
interfering with our children. They're not coming into school in the right frame of mind either. They're coming to school late and they're missing the wholesome part of assembly. And then they go into classes, and they act out because these things about shoot this body is coming in their heads, and is repetitive, so it becomes part of their day. So I want to thank Stephanie for bringing it up, and we need to keep it out there because we have to protect our children.
yes, yes. Stephanie, is there anything else that you want to say on this? I see Andrea Critchlow is agreeing with Mr. Bob that music carries frequencies which can affect mood and behaviors of some people
Yes,
who are sensitive to it. So that type of music doesn't have to be played on the public transport. So,
yes,
is there anything you want to add about that? Because that must be part of why you're so concerned, because these children are going to school, right?
yes. But Marcia, two of the comments that really touched me today. One young lady, she said she's brought up in a Christian home, but sometimes she has to catch the van. And she says sometimes she just has to sit there and endure it because there's nothing else that she can do.
Mm-hmm.
Another young boy, he was like, You mean school boring? I would want the bus boring too? And Marcia, that hurt me. That statement alone says so much. School
Yes.
is boring. I know you want the bus to be boring. And I want to say to parents, right? As much as I'm calling on the government to do something about the music, parents, we need to step up to the plate more. We need to motivate and we need to inspire our children. We need to pour in positive things into our children. It is not easy, but we need to do it because, like, out there are so many things that will distract them and send them down the wrong road. Our children are not our friends. You understand? We're supposed
Yes.
to nurture and we're supposed to lead. And we really got to step up to the plate more. I know there are a lot of parents out there who are going above and beyond. I commend them. But then we have to be honest about the fact that there are some parents out there who are not putting their best foot forward. And that is a problem, right? Teachers already have a hard enough job having to get children settled and trying to teach a lesson. So, like, when the children go to school in that frame of mind, how are teachers supposed to cope? It's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair. But what I would say is, I know that my son and one of my daughters would have attended this school. It is a very good school. The former principal was very nice. However, when I had received my letter like this, I opted not to participate in the birthday celebration and about two other things
Yes.
because it's my choice, okay? It's
Yes.
my choice, and I
Uh-huh.
made that decision. And also, I just want parents to know that in terms of PTA subscriptions, whether it's preschool, nursery school, primary, or secondary school, that is not mandatory. And this is something that I have been trying to get parents to understand. No, schools come and they enforce pay this up front. But you cannot tell me that because that is not mandatory according to the Ministry of Education. You understand? This is something that parents do not understand. And I mean, I was sent this letter, I think last year. Someone had sent me this letter and they were like, Stephanie, look at this. And I looked at it and I just put it down because I think the fees are more than when my children had attended. So I don't know what's going on now. But parents have to be able to make informed decisions for themselves. If you don't need a birthday party with a cake, you can do it yourself, then do it yourself. Why be stressed out about something that you cannot do? Just say you can't do it. You don't need to keep up with the Joneses.
So Stephanie, if they send this to you and with a $500 with these things itemized, and you don't want to say the birthday, the PTA, but you can get the games closed, you're not participating in the Christmas and party contribution, the enrichment activities, dancing and football, because when you leave there, you're gonna take your choice somewhere else to do that. If you don't meet some of these costs, are you still allowed in?
Well, I would believe so. For me, in terms of the football, which are extracurricular activities, I wouldn't have a problem with that because
Okay.
the children are small. I need to
Mm-hmm.
have them in extracurricular activities.
Right.
However, for the ones I would have mentioned, maybe I don't celebrate birthdays,
Agree.
right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So if I don't celebrate birthdays, I don't need to pay for a birthday party.
It's true.
So that's excluded.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You follow?
Yes, I'm following you. Yeah.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't be paying all that money though. I listen. I don't mix matters, Mr. Bob, Miss Weeks. I do not. I don't have time for it. I don't have time to talk pretty. I don't have time to dwell on certain things. I am going to pay for what I know my child can benefit from, and everything else will have to stay where they are. It is as simple as that. Parents need to stand up more. Parents are too quiet about things that they know they can't do. Why are you going to bend over backward to do things that you know you cannot do? And then you can't eat for the next 4 weeks? That is crazy.
Yeah.
We need to stop with that mentality. Stop dealing with how things look. Don't care about the look or what people say. Do what you can.
Yeah.
Suppose they receive some amount of money. I can't give you the amount, but
Yes.
maybe it is not adequate. And here is my thing about that. We
Mm-hmm.
have to come to a point where we understand that we cannot depend on government for everything. At my
Mm-hmm.
daughter's primary school, I would have taken toilet paper, I would have taken sanitizer, I would have taken hand soap just to help. I do not see anything wrong with that, right? I don't see anything wrong with that. But I don't believe that the money that the government gives to the schools
Is adequate.
is enough. And that
Yeah.
in itself is a problem because, like, I don't know. You're
Yeah.
finding money to do all kinds of things, but you're saying you care about the children. However, you're saying you can't give them enough money
But
to do the things that they would need to do. That's just crazy.
that is
And
what
I
some
said,
government does.
that is how I feel, right? Because I remember when the Lawrence Tigger school had the environmental issue. And, you know, at first when it was telling parents something was going on, people were like, oh, she want the school shut and da 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 da. However, when the school closed, everyone was up in an uproar, wanting to know what was going on. But when it was telling them what was going on, they didn't want to hear. My children were at home. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And I had the mindset they were not going back to school until things were put in order and in place. Because, you know, there's this thing when you keep holding children too long, the ministry want to come for you. That
Yeah.
was the mindset I was in. Let the ministry come. They're still not going to school. Do what you are supposed to do. Make the environment safe for our children. It should be conducive. And this is the point parents in Barbados need to get to. When you know that something is wrong, do not let people come and tell you that everything is okay. Make it make sense. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we have the summer program with a list of schools who have to get work done. And I know from experience, nobody can tell me, Marcia, 3 and 4 weeks before school open, you're going to have 8 workmen on the job who have to go to other schools to work. Make it make sense. It
Mm.
doesn't make sense.
Repeat what
They're
you just
always
said.
late.
Repeat what you just said, because that, you see, we are hearing schools are not ready, but these are some of the reasons. Go ahead, repeat what you just said.
Yes, 4 and 3 weeks before school start, you're going to send workmen on the school plant to do work. And those
Mm,
same workmen, even though they're going to work weekends, they have to still work on other schools. So even like when the minister came out and he said accountability, he's holding people accountable, right?
mm,
You're holding the contractors and the workers who are in the union accountable. I am holding you accountable because I know for myself. Okay, there's a guy who goes around to the schools and then he reports back to the Ministry of Education. Then they decide when the guys are going to come to work. Contractors don't go on the school plan on their own. They have to
mm,
get the okay when to start work and what to do. So don't come out and blame the people saying contractors and workers, you are going to be held accountable. They need to stop it. They need to stop passing the blame and hold themselves accountable and say, you know what? This is something that happens every year. Marcia, it happens every year. Hence, when the guy said we've done 47 or 45 schools and they will be ready, and it went on that comment on Facebook and it said, nice, and it did the clap hands and it said, who come Monday for school, you don't eat your words. Because I already knew schools were not ready. It is just known. They're too lackadaisical when it comes to dealing with the schools. Too last minute. And like it's just crazy that every year it is the same repetitive behavior. And you realize you're getting a little bit passionate, Marcia, because this has really disturbed me. How do you do
mm.
the same thing year after year after year and then come and fool the public? You have no
Attempt to fool the
conscience.
public. Attempt to fool the public.
Attempt to fool the public.
The public. Yes.
Attempt to fool. Yes, yes. Yes, correct. Attempt to fool the public. I was concerned about that as well. And I did
Mhm.
a video about that as well, Marcia, because it doesn't look good. You know, we want the best for our nation's children. However, this is what I have found, again, from my own personal experience from being in the schools, right? Sometimes the ministry officials, they go off and do what they want to do, and they expect that everyone else falls in line.
Mm.
And that is not good enough. This is not the first time that you will hear the union saying, well, the ministry did not consult us. And listen, Again, going back to the environmental issue, parents
Yes.
weren't consulted. Parents heard about the school being reopened, sometimes from the media, and you're scrambling. When you spoke about it, then they came and they had a meeting with parents and on another day, and they let us know that we're going back into school such and such time. But even then, it was late notice. You get a meeting the Friday or the Sunday night to go school the Tuesday. Like that can make sense.
Yeah.
That is, it is just this kind of crazy behavior. And Marcia, one more thing I'll say. Like you were just mentioning that if you were the chief, what you would do. If I were the chief, I would go to every school and rally parents to be on my team. You
Correct.
understand? Rally parents to be on my team. And
She going to,
feet gonna be on the ground though. Cause we going to every school. You understand? They can't do it by themselves.
no,
They
you're
gotta
correct.
embrace parents more. They keep telling us to be more involved. I was more involved than to kick me to the curb. However, I good know. But rally the parents together. You need a team though. Get more proactive. Get more creative. You can't be doing the same old thing and expecting to get positive results. It is crazy. We are heading into a new era and they gotta up their game. They need to.
It's
They
really,
need to up it.
everything. Is it that they want parents to go private? You think, Miss Williams?
Well, I wouldn't go as far as saying that. However, this is my personal belief. I
Mm-hmm.
believe that there are a number of agendas in the pipeline, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I believe that a lot of the things that are happening currently are distractions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I believe that they are distractions. I remember when you had done the Marcia, when you were
Yeah.
talking about gender neutrality and fluidity. And I
Mm-hmm.
had to remember seeing in Jamaica when the boys were dressed like girls and the girls were dressed like boys for that one day, and that disturbed me. And when I sit down in my quiet time, right, and I think about everything that is being done, I keep getting the feeling, this sense that come next year, a lot of things will not be the way how we see them right now.
Mm.
I realize that our children are very out of place, and the government, the ministry, they can do stuff, but they're not doing anything to pull back that behavior. It's almost like our children are let loose.
Mm.
You understand? And I feel like when this agenda that they're looking to push comes fully on stream, our children will be like, but there's what we could do. But there's what we could do. The children already don't want to listen to the parents. So if
Mm-hmm.
you hear that you can live whatever lifestyle you want to live and your parents can't stop you, I know you're going a little bit off track. But when I think about that, it would explain why it seems that our children are being allowed to do what they have to do. It seems that children have more rights than parents. And it even goes back to like wandering. Check wandering, Marcia. Wanting when children run away from home, that was a big thing. But now it's like, that ain't really nothing. That young girl, she was missing for 5 months. Her father couldn't find her. And when she came back, she refused to tell her father where she was. That is crazy. And it wasn't a big thing that she was not at school for 5 months. What was she doing within that 5 months? What happened to that case? The public is never updated. There are things going on, and Barbadians have to get up to date and get more serious. Things are happening right under our noses, and some people not recognizing it. They're not recognizing it, and it's sad, to be honest.
Yes. Before
A
we
young
close.
lady today, she was saying that at her school, I can't remember the subject teacher, but the subject teacher has not been there since last term. I know she has gone back to school. There's still no teacher to teach that subject. And she's very
Wow.
disturbed about that. And this is something that is not only happening at her school, but across Barbados, this is an issue. Get teachers. When teachers go off on sick leave, they retire, whatever the case may be, to fill in the spaces. It is not right. And then you have children who have to do CXCs and different stuff, and you expect to put work that they did not do on the paper, because that happens as well.
Right.
Work
Because
that they would not have done. It's only
They're not
paper.
there. They're not there. They're not there. Wow.
Yeah.
There's so much to touch on schools, but I'm glad I
Yeah.
had a parent and a teacher on. Well, thank you so much, Miss Williams, for being on with us tonight. We really, really appreciate it.